Hi guys, welcome back to the JL Resilience Podcast, episode 4. Absolutely delighted to announce today's guest is my close friend Jordan Burrow. Today's episode, like I've said in the previous ones, will all be a little bit different. They've all got a different story, everyone's got a different journey, but today's episode's big on injuries, mentality in dealing with injuries, contracts in non-league, out of contract in non-league, full-time, how people deal with that. If people have experienced that in their own careers, it's worth a listen. You might get a bit of an insight to how it works in the modern day football with full-time and part-time. So yeah, Jordan Burrow's here today joining us. Had a fantastic career so far, still got many more games to go, mate.
Debatable.
Welcome, glad to have you, mate.
Yeah, good to be here, mate. What a setup. Looking forward to it. Like you say, talking a bit more about injuries and everything in non-league, but happy to be here and looking forward to getting going.
Good man, good. So for those that haven't heard of Jordan, which not been many because he's a legend, started at Chesterfield, came through the academy system, all the way through into a professional contract. Dipped into non-league, got back into the football league with Stevenage, League 1, League 2.
Yeah, well, I went to Morecambe after I left Chesterfield.
Yep.
Went on a few trials here, there and everywhere. They offered me a contract. I went to Stevenage in League 2, then I kind of started my non-league journey after that, mate, really, Lincoln and Halifax.
Yeah, you're probably talking that down a little bit as in non-league journey, because the clubs you've played for are all big clubs, you know, York, Boston, Lincoln, Gateshead. So you've not been dropping all the way down to, playing just on a Saturday and not having the full-time environment. You're still playing as a full-time professional footballer.
Yeah, I think, going into looking at my career, if I look at it as a whole, I think I've probably eked and eased every single bit of ability that I've got. I think I've kind of got everything out of my career as what I could do. I've played for some great clubs, prestigious clubs. You look at Lincoln, all these clubs seem to go on and do more after I leave, which is a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah, you just pop them up, don't you?
Yeah, I played for Lincoln, who in the conference at the time, now they're flying high in League 1, but I played for I've had the privilege of playing for some great clubs, represented some good fan bases, and I think I've got everything out of my career so far. It's not done yet, there's still a few years left, but I think I've got everything out of that I can do, and I've enjoyed every single minute of it, mate, really.
No, good. So, as you can see, suffered a bit of an injury myself at the weekend, which is still up in the air, undecided of kind of what's happened with me. So we'll park that for now. But the reason why I wanted to put a big emphasis on injuries around this podcast for Jordan is for the last 12 months been a bit of a horror show for you, mate, hasn't it? We played in the same game against Chorley on a Tuesday night, doing well in search of playoffs, flying, picked up a bad injury, and then tell me how the next 9 months looked after that.
Yeah, so I'll take it back. I've been really fortunate in my career not to have suffered any injuries. I've been really fortunate. Even like little niggles, I've never really had any, to be honest with you. I've kind of just got on with it. And this last year, I started in the end of 2021 in December. I suffered a calf injury. That was out for 3 months. I got through that. I mean, you know when you first suffer an injury, you're quite fresh and you're quite buzzing about it, aren't you? And you're really eager to get into your rehab. But then I come back for 4 or 5 games, and then, like you say, against Chorley, really bad tackle, and it's just been one thing after another, mate, with it, to be honest. Couldn't get it right, and I've probably been a victim of my own eagerness to get back. You know, like you have 2 or 3 weeks off and then you try and push it and it doesn't respond very well. And it's been my left ankle, and I've been struggling with that for a while now. Had an operation 3 or 4 months down the line to try and clean it out, and then it's just been a kind of process of managing it and trying to get it back to how it was. Every time I've tried to come back, it's kind of ballooned up and it's not felt right. But it has been a tough period, mate. I'll be honest with you. It has been a tough period in terms of getting your head around the injuries. I think that one of the main things is you think to yourself, will I ever get back? Will I ever get back to feeling how it was before? It was so it's been 12 months really, with 2 separate injuries. First one was 3 months. Second one was 8-9 months injury. But as we touched on before, I'm luckily enough I'm back now. I played my first start was New Year's Day. But it has been a tough time.
So if you go right back to where you just said you never really suffered with injuries, must have been a massive shock to you. So you come out, you're only set to be out for a couple of months. Victim of your own eagerness, but that's probably because did you know how to deal with it? Were you when people have been injured a few times and it's your second or your third or your fourth major injury, you kind of get your head round. You're similar to me. We've not really been injured throughout our careers. It can affect you mentally so much because you can't deal with it. You can't deal with the lads going out and training. You're left in the gym, or you can't deal with not playing on the Saturday and watching somebody else score from your position.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was quite naive in the fact that I believed in long-term injuries, but I had my mindset was I didn't really believe in little niggly injuries. Yeah. I just thought I've played with knocks and bumps and bruises my whole career, so get on with it. That was my mindset. And then when you actually get injured yourself, you kind of look at it from a different perspective, and you think, do you know what, these are actually, I know it sounds stupid to say that you don't believe in people getting little knocks and injuries, but that's how I was. That was my mindset.
No, I was the exact same. When I've played with people that have done ACLs and been out for 9 months at a time, and you hear some horror shows and you think, I've been smashed in tackles, and your knee's sore for a couple of weeks. Yeah. And then did my medial last season, and then I'm looking like I've done the LCL this season, and it's like all of a sudden, I don't know if it's because we're getting older or what, but you seem to pick up more than what you do.
Yeah.
And obviously at your age now, being 30-year-old, injuries, football's precious to us. You don't want injuries going on for a year, 6 months at a time. We've already missed, 12 months, 18 months of football because of COVID. Like, we don't want any more time away from the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at Boston this is my 3rd season at Boston now, and I've not played enough football over the period of time I've been there, through COVID, through injuries. But like I said, I never really believed in them too much, and I've found as you're trying to come back from these other injuries, you start feeling other little things, which and touching on everyone going out to train, the first 2 or 3 weeks are okay, because you're like, I should get all right, the lads are out training, I'll be in the gym, I'm still in and around the lads. And I know me personally, I got to a stage, and you probably noticed it yourself when I was travelling with the lads all the time. It was a case of like I got to a stage where I was thinking, I don't even want to be in and around the lads at the moment, because it's that difficult to go and watch them play and train, and that camaraderie you've got when you come in from training, you're all laughing and joking about training. And I know we're like, it's not the end of the world being injured or whatever, but that's how you feel in that situation, because they're all out there, you're in the gym on your own, you come in and they're all bantering about what's happened, someone's been megged in training, or someone's took someone on and scored and humiliated him, and you're laughing and joking, and you're kind of on the periphery outside of it thinking,
I wish I feel a part of it.
No, yeah, I wish I were involved in that, and you can't really get involved in the conversation.
And I don't think people, there'll be people that watch this that aren't footballers, there'll be people that watch it that are footballers. But I think when you're not involved in the profession, they don't understand it. I always say to my missus, she doesn't understand it. She's not a football person. She's not involved in it. She doesn't have the sympathy of, she sees her job and people will watch it and see it as a job. And, well, you're still so lucky anyway. But the mentality and the mindset, because you've not got people to bounce off, and it can become the loneliest sport in the world when you're injured, especially when you're attached to a part-time team, because you're only there a couple of hours a week. And if you're, especially at Boston, we've been injured together there. The gym's not on site, the lads are training at the Keepmo, but you're at the Nuffield Elf on your own. You're basically just going to the gym tonight on your own. Do you know what I mean? So there is no, the bit that you love football for, and what we'll all talk about when we've finished and retired, is the banter, the car schools, the away trips. When you're injured, you don't get any of that. No. You just get you don't even get the buzz from the football, you don't get the buzz from the fans, you don't get the buzz from the bus. You're literally an outcast until you're back fit.
Definitely, and one thing, people always ask you how you are, and it's lovely that they want to ask you, but that even gets repetitive, and you think to yourself,
can only tell the same story so many times.
How are you when you're back? You think to yourself, well, I don't actually know. I don't actually know when I'm going to be back. So, it is a mental battle just as much as a physical battle.
And have you found that yourself this year, with it being your first major injury, your first year out of football? There's got to have been some times where you've gone I feel like chucking it. So
I'd say I'm a positive, optimistic person in terms of always looking on the right side of the coin, always trying to be positive in my mindset. But even me, I found myself at times thinking to myself, blimey, I don't know when I'm going to be back here. This is will I ever get back? And you watch games and it's the hustle bustle and the people flying into tackles. You think, I don't know if I'm ready for that again. Because your ankle or whatever doesn't feel right. But you gradually start building your confidence back up, and you do have to show, like, I know it's apparent in the work you're doing at the moment with the mental resilience. You have to be resilient in your thinking, especially, and that's definitely a mindset just as much as it is a physical thing, because you're going in the gym, you have to knuckle down, do your program, and you have to trust the process that you will get back into levels you were at previously, if not better, because you know all your gym work.
I think the biggest worry for me, especially, and a lot of people won't see this of football, you're just judged on footballing ability, you're judged on who you are on the pitch, but especially at, part-time football clubs, not everyone's got the top tier medical care, not everyone's got paid all the way through the summer, not everyone's on a 4 or 5 year contract like Paul Pogba is and Rashford and all these big superstars get, earning the money they do. Lads are still working, the physios are still working, the management team are probably still working, and I think it's sometimes to open people's eyes to it all. It's a lot harder than what people see. One of my biggest worries last year when I got injured was, I'm out of contract in the summer. I've got an injury that I don't know how long I'm going to be out for. This is what pays for food for my kids. This is what pays for my bills. Do you know what I mean? And all that stuff. And like, surely worries come into everyone's head where football at a stage becomes, especially at part-time, we're not talking about full-time when that's your own profession, that becomes difficult to kind of get your head around when there's a worry now about, oh, that's my money.
Definitely. I was fortunate in the fact that Boston signed me in the summer, even though I finished the season injured. Same with yourself.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be back pre-season, which it didn't turn out I was going to be. But just touching on that, I've been at the previous full-time clubs before, your Lincolns, your Yorks, your Stevenage, your Morecambs, and you take for granted the medical care that you get.
Yeah.
Because you're full-time, and with me not being injured and yourself not suffering many injuries, you kind of don't even think about it.
No.
You don't even think about what if I get injured. But from seeing other lads that get injured, the medical care, they get looked after, they get the scans, they get the operations, it's all sorted, they're insured. Whereas when you come into not non-league, but you come into part-time football especially, football clubs, they're not insured, and I think that's what, in terms of the lads' medical care, is not insured, and I think that's a big eye-opener for me. And I should have had my eyes open to it. I'm an experienced player, 29, 30 years old. I should know these things, but with me not being injured, I've never had to think about it.
No. And you don't understand, like, the quickness of getting an MRI scan to see what your injury is, getting a consultation with a surgeon, or getting an operation. The NHS in England is absolutely fantastic, but like everything, there's a waiting list, and with people's careers and stuff like that, you can't wait too long in football because your contracts are only a year long, so you can't go on a year waiting list to get your ACL fixed, so you go through private healthcare and stuff to try and get through quick. But if you're not insured and you don't have personal insurance, which big advocate for people to get, if you haven't got all this and you're not supported by the PFA, which by the way are fantastic, you're asking people to pay £7,000, £8,000, £400-500 for a scan, £200 for a consultation, and like I hinted to at the beginning, these part-time clubs, people aren't millionaires, people aren't earning enough money to be just chucking. Well, I certainly haven't in my career.
So if I put a time frame on it for people listening here, if I suffered an injury on a Saturday, it wouldn't be a case of me being able to get a scan on a Monday. That wouldn't be realistic. So what would happen is, if I required a scan, the physio at the club would contact a private hospital to get me a scan, which could be a couple of weeks down the line, probably best case scenario, which I would have to fund myself because the club's not insured. If you're lucky, the club might put a contribution towards it, or but you still have to fund half or something like that yourself. So it's not as easy as just going, the club will sort it and box it off for me, and then I'll get a scan, I'll know everything what's happening in a day or two. Especially at part-time clubs in non-league level, you might be waiting a week, 2 weeks to get a scan, which you have to fund yourself. Yeah. And like you touched on before, we're not, contrary to what people might think, we're not on loads of money.
No.
And that £400-500 for a scan is a lot of money. in anyone's. I know it's your profession and completely understand that, but it's a lot of money. And then on top of that, like myself, I had to go and see a specialist, which costs, because we couldn't get to the root of the problem, which cost more money, which another £400 or £500.
An operation costs more money.
And then an operation on top of that, what he recommends for you, is a lot of money. You're talking thousands of pounds. So all this money adds up, and if the club's not insured, which majority aren't, you have to fund that yourself.
Yeah, and if you're not covered by the PFA and you've not got personal insurance, this is when it all becomes tricky, and a lot of people don't see that. And my point of kind of getting to this is, having an injury is mentally tough as it is. We've touched on it all, not being around the lads, not getting to do your profession, not getting to play the sport that you love playing. And then on the side of this, you've got a mental battle with, right, where am I finding funds? Where am I doing this? Right, who am I ringing there? Who am I sorting there? The full-time clubs and the Football League clubs and the Premier League clubs, like you've said, you've played in there, you've done it. You take for granted of the care of someone just going, yeah, when I was at Harrogate, yeah, you'll be for a scan on Monday, sorted. It was fantastic. And to be fair, with this one, I'm attached to Kidderminster Harriers at the moment, full-time football club. They've been great. I've managed to get my scan already. I've got a consultation book. They've been brilliant, funded. That's fantastic. But not everybody is in that position.
That's a select amount of clubs at our level. That's probably 2 or 3 clubs that would probably do that for you. And like you say, mentally to try and get everything in place like that is tricky, and you've got to juggle everything on top of your work-life balance as well. I mean, I coach at Chesterfield, the 16 to 21-year-olds, to help out there, and with an ankle injury as well. That's suffering.
Putting on the back burner, because you can't go out with the lads, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't be on your feet.
And you're probably in a luxurious position there where coaching is your job. These lads that we've played with that work on building sites, that were a delivery man, the drive for the living. So it all affects all that. So that's another mental pressure that's put on you to be as a provider for yourself, your family, whoever, that is added on top, and it kind of becomes like a little bit of a ticking time bomb until it can blow. So managing that is really important, and if you need any help with that, talk to as many people as you can, and help is definitely what you need, isn't it?
Definitely, you need to definitely seek advice from the medical professionals in and around the club. With the injury, I've been very at Boston. They've took me into loads of different things. So I've helped out. I mean, at one stage I was helping out with warm-ups because obviously I'm doing a bit of coaching, which was good. That was when I was in between managers. I've been doing got to know everyone around the club really. I've done the commentary to games, which has been great. I've enjoyed that. But like I said before, you want to be a player. All that is good, and you do enjoy it. But that's not what you're there for.
No,
I'm there to play, and it is tough. But you have to keep the faith, keep the process going, and hopefully you can get it right. Which fingers crossed I have done, mate.
Yeah. So on a positive note now. Back first 90 minutes on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Not the result you wanted, but the performance. Got an assist.
Got an assist. Yeah. Managed to flick one on, which is not very surprising.
But so you're back now. Good strong end to the season. Helped them climb the table. What's the future look like for you? Obviously, again, I know we've kind of briefly touched on it so far. Had a fantastic career so far. You played for some fantastic clubs that people would only dream of playing for. You've got 400 games under your belt, 30-year-old, still in great condition. Have you got aspirations of going back into full-time, or are you happy part-time and coaching and working? Because that's what some people don't understand. It's like, well, why don't you just play for such and such? And it's like, well, I'm quite happy in my life. I'm enjoying my coaching. I'm playing part-time. Or is there still a little bit of a burning desire at 30-year-old to be like, I want to go again?
Yeah, I think, well, on myself, I'm coaching at Chesterfield, which I touched on. I'm doing a degree in coaching. I'm in my last year of a degree at Sheffield Hallam, so I'm just finishing that up. Well, I've got a lot to do on it, to be honest, dissertations and all sorts to write, but I'm finishing that up, and then my aspirations. I would like to get back into full-time football. But if it doesn't come, then I'm not going to go out and be really, really disappointed, because I'm on the other ladder in terms of my coaching and playing.
The other side of 30 as well, you know.
Yeah.
You're looking.
You have to look longer term a little bit. But if the opportunity arose and it was good and it fit for me, then I would go for it.
How did you find the transition? So full-time all your career, you was, like we've touched on there, probably up until 27-year-old, dropped down into the part-time world. How did you find that? So obviously you've gone from being a pampered footballer all your life, taking lots of things for granted like everyone does, to doing a degree, working, playing football.
Very difficult, mate, especially early on. Difficult because you've got a little bit more spare time and you think to yourself, I need to fill this time. I would never dream of, if I had a game on a Tuesday, normally, I would just be chilling out all day. Because you're full time, you're doing nothing. Nowadays on a Tuesday, if you've got a game, you might be coaching in the morning. So that's a big difference. You've got to get your mindset right. You know, I'm a little bit, I'm like a bit methodical in terms of I need this to do this before a game. Get my food, get my fluids, and all that kind of stuff. That's how I kind of.
If you're working, you can't do that.
Exactly. So you're working, you're grafting, you're thinking to yourself, I need to grab something to eat. But I've got a game tonight. I don't want to be on my feet too much because I've got to run around and do 11, 12k tonight running.
And your perfect pasta dish that you always have for your career becomes a meal deal in Tesco.
Exactly, mate. And it is a big difference. I mean, some people can adapt to it better than others, and I think it is a balance, and it does take time to do. But no, I did struggle at first. I've got the balance right now. And I do enjoy the aspect of training a couple of times a week, and I'm getting everything else in place for when hopefully I've got another 5 or 6 years playing in my locker. But if not, I'm kind of sorting myself out for that transition period in my life.
No, brilliant. So, as we've done on these podcasts that hopefully you've watched before, we've always kind of said to finish up. Your best moment in your football, so you've probably had a 12-year professional football career so far, from 18 to 30. Some highlights: your FA Trophy win, England C appearances, promotions.
Yeah, you've got a few of them there already. I think my favourite moment in my career was making my Football League debut. I think above everything, obviously playing at Wembley was unbelievable, but I think that gratification and satisfaction making your Football League debut after rejection and getting told you weren't good enough at Chesterfield, so to speak, because I was there as a young pro. I think making that Football League debut and scoring that first Football League goal was just all the years and sacrifice you put into trying to be a footballer and the hours of dedication. I think that was my best feeling. So that's definitely up there. Playing for England C, you've done it yourself. You know what it feels like. It's a great honour, and it's something that nobody can take away from you. And also obviously playing at Wembley. But people can say what they want about your career, whether they rated you, whether they thought you were good, whether they thought you were not. You've got these memories that are long lasting, and nobody can take them away from you, no matter what they say. Which you'll always. And I touched on at the very start about, I feel like I've got everything I can out of my career, so I can. Hopefully there's some more years to come, but I feel like I've done everything in my power to get everything out, and I don't think I could have done much more, to be honest, or achieved much more than what I've already done. So they're definitely my highlights. I'm looking to, as I progress throughout I'm looking to get into coaching. That would be something that I want to do longer term. I feel like I've got something.
But you've had a 12-year career where I know we touched on bits and bobs of working. I know that you've dropped in and helped Shieldsy a couple of times with his business, and you've done the coaching, but you got to look back on that 12 years quite proud of yourself, and like you say, you've got many years to come, in my opinion. But the last 12 years of your career, you've not had to work and do long hours.
No.
You've been a footballer for it, and that's ultimately what you started out to do, and you managed to do it. I still think you're being quite modest, because I think full time you definitely go and earn some good money and go and give somebody a really good helping hand on their football club. But then to flip that on its head, so worst moment, obviously, we were having a discussion earlier in the car, myself and Duncan, and we said football brings loads of positives, like you touched on there, some of the best memories. But there's a lot more worse than there is good. The good bits always get clipped up.
Yeah.
But the amount of times I've picked phone up and moaned about football, the amount of times I've rang and we've had a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say, looking back now, and you've gone, yeah, that's really low. I struggled to deal with it. This, and this.
I think my lowest time, coupled with the first getting let go at Chesterfield, I mean that was a low point, because you get that rejection. You don't know which way you're going to go in terms of your football. You're 18, 19 years old. You're struggling there, but you're fresh faced, so you're really optimistic in terms of what you're going to do. You chuck yourself into anything. You know yourself, and
you're naive as well. You think you're going to, you get released by Chesterfield, but you still think you could play for Man United. You don't really understand the pyramid.
Exactly. So you're still fresh faced and naive, and you're just eager. You'll do anything. You'll do absolutely anything. I think probably one of my worst moments was. I had a good season at Halifax, won the FA Trophy. We got relegated during that season, so I was in the Conference North the year after. I'd done well. I'd scored 19 goals that year, so I had a good season and dropped down league. And I probably was naive again, thinking to myself, I've done this in this league. I've had a good year, so I'll pick up where I left off. Mm-hmm. New manager came in, brought a lot of different players in, and I was finding myself out of the squad. That was probably the lowest in terms of a footballing sense, because like you say, you question everything. You question whether you're gonna, am I done?
It's the lowest level you've played at.
Yeah.
You're out of the squad in the lowest level.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at the shoulder at the clubs that you didn't think you were going to play for.
Yeah, exactly. And the phone's not ringing so much anymore, because people thinking to yourself, well, if you can't get a game there, then I'm not going to take him over here. And that happened. I was thinking it was about 23, 24 at the time. So 24 I was, and you think, God, I'm only 24. I've still got a lot left to give. But if I can't get a game at this level, am I looking even lower down, thinking, will my career end up petering out and end up like that way? But I managed to. I had a bit of interest. An old manager signed me at Gateshead at the time. It was a big change for me. I went from living at home at Halifax to moving away, which is yourself. It's tough. It's tough. It's a complete different lifestyle change, but it was probably one of the best things I did for me personally, because it made me grow up.
Come out of your comfort zone.
Out of my comfort zone, made me grow up. I had to start cooking for myself and washing myself and all that kind of stuff. And I know it sounds silly, but you kind of take them things for granted a little bit when you're at home, don't you?
Yeah.
You get everything all sorted for you. So I did that, and that was the best thing. I was up there on my own. Nobody comes to see you, really, do they? They might come to a couple of games here and there, but you're up there, you're fending for yourself, and you have to try and make something of yourself up there. And the people up there were fantastic, and an old manager signed me, and I hit the ground running, really, because I was that desperate to do well. I would
second
chance again. I'm thinking, and you do, in your own head, you're thinking to yourself, if it doesn't happen for me here, then I'm only looking down.
Yeah.
I was in the Conference North, couldn't get a game out of the squad, and then a conference club signed me.
Yeah.
Because what I'd done previously, and an old manager. So then I'm thinking to myself, I'm not good enough for them. What are the lads going to think here? The lads aren't going to think I'm good enough for this bit.
Yeah.
But I integrated myself well, and I made a good start. I think that always helps, doesn't it? When you make a good start, score on your debut and all that kind of stuff. So.
And then you go from there. You go from strength to strength. You join a couple of big clubs, and then all of a sudden you're looking back, probably as 29-year-old, as a 20, looking back at your time as 24 and going, that was it. That was the changing point for me. That's where I kicked on. But
I know I'm touching on you've obviously got your business, what you're doing, your resilience business, and one of the most important aspects of any young aspiring football is you have to show that resilience, mate. You have to, because if you give in and don't believe in yourself and think to yourself, oh, one man just told me I'm not good enough, then you will honestly not be a footballer. You have to have that strength of character and that mindset, mentality, resilience, and I keep using the buzzword, but you have to show that and undoubted ability in yourself that you can do it. Yeah. Because if someone told you you're not good enough and you just kind of accept it and say, okay, fair enough, you don't have the long career.
Yeah. For the 5 clubs that say yeah to you, there'd be 10, 15 that say no, and there'd be even 10, 15 that you don't even know past that your agent might have talked to that said not for me, and it happens, you know what I mean? And you can change people's minds. Somebody might have said no to you previously that says yeah to you, but people take football, in my opinion, you might agree with this, it's so personal, and it's the least personal thing that you can think of, organisation, career, whatever you choose to do. When you join football, you've got to understand that it's a game of opinions. the assistant manager might love you, the first team gaffer might not like you. One manager loves you, one manager don't like you. Like you just said there, you go to conference, no football, you're not in the squad, you're not getting a game. You're probably sat there thinking, oh God, this is me done. All of a sudden, a previous manager goes, I could do with a bit of a Jordan Burrows up there. Oh, he's not getting in the squad at the minute. Next thing you're playing, you're scoring, you're back in Football League. You know, that's as quick as it can turn. Would you say, moving forward for young people, a bit of a helping hand is that you've just got to take the rough with the smooth? There's a lot more bad than there is good.
Definitely, and you know, like you touched on there, you can't take one person's opinion as gospel truth. You have to have that confidence in your own self and your own ability that you're gonna A, prove people wrong, or B, prove people right. People that believe in you. You have to be thick-skinned. I know it's easier said than done, especially as a young person, because for you to have a little bit of criticism, and we're all guilty of it ourselves, aren't we? If we look on Twitter after a game and there's 10 good comments, 1 negative, you focus on the negative. It's just human nature. I had to block
Boston fans, didn't I?
It's just human nature.
I think me to an early grave.
It's just human nature. But I think as you get older, you do get better at it. But if you can give some advice to younger people now, you just have to take the negatives and the positives. If one person says you're not good enough, then okay, fair enough, I'll try and prove you wrong. And there is a lot of opinions out there, and there's a lot of clubs out there that will like your style of play. I mean, I'm an old-fashioned centre forward. I might be for one manager. For another manager who wants to play runners in behind, not so much. You like getting half the yard and crossing it. Other people
what about my dribbling? Do I not go past people?
Well, yeah, you do. You've shown that side of your game recently as well. Yeah,
the pace as well. It's the pace and turn.
You got it all, haven't you? Really, but use a bad example actually.
But no, so like we said at the beginning, things are going to be different each week. We know we talk on different scenarios. We're kind of going on people's journeys, trying to take little bits from everyone's careers. I think you've come on and added loads, mate. I think it's been really good, a fantastic guest. You've talked about your injuries, you've talked about your ups, your downs, your career highs. I've really enjoyed it, mate. I think other people will. And again, thank you very much for giving your time up, because I'm not paying you.
No. Can I just finish off and say, if you are in the non-league circuit and you are playing there, and we've touched on injuries and insurance, take out personal insurance. That's what I want to sign that off. I've got it now myself. Is it too late? A little too late, I don't know. But get that personal injury insurance that covers you for your. You might be able to get a scan or a operation off this insurance, or you might get refunded for time off work that you're not having.
Yeah.
I know it sounds. For 15, 20 quid a month, it's 100% worth it. Get that personal insurance.
And it can give you that mental peace of mind as well.
Exactly, and then you're not thinking about that along with everything else. You've got that peace of mind in the background for you get sorted a little bit with that, mate. But I've really enjoyed it as well. Thanks for having me on. Hopefully, people out there will watch it and enjoy it.
I'm sure we'll get a few York fans, Gateshead fans.
Yeah, we'll send people to sleep.
Cheers. Right, thank you very much. See you next week.
Cheers. See you later.